is rock and roll dead?
Yes.
No.
Wow, a disagreement.
Yeah.
Patrick, why is rock? Well, Jack, let's go with you first. Why is rock and roll dead?
I think as a art form, I don't know what that was. It wasn't
Yes,
me.
it was a weird noise.
It wasn't me.
I think it
That was the death of rock and roll right there.
Yeah,
That
just
was
squeaked out.
the last gasp of rock and roll.
I think it was my water bottle.
Just queefed out of Van Halen's fingernail there. All right, so I think rock and roll is dead because there's only so much you can do creatively that pushes the envelope with a 4-piece modern rock arrangement, and that that sort of expression peaked in about 1972 to 5, and then everything after that has just been like reinterpretations of that initial groundwork. So it's finally just petering out, like because rock was cool in the 70s, sucked in the 80s. No offense to Van Halen and your opinion.
That's fine.
And
No, I know.
Cool
Again, I know
grunge,
it's
but
bad
not as
music,
cool.
but I like it.
And we got cool with grunge, but not as cool as the 70s, and then went back down with new metal.
Right.
And then got kind of cool again at like the 2000s with sort of like the hipster kind of rebirth of alternative, but not as cool as it was in the 90s, which wasn't as cool as it was in the 70s. So,
Patrick, why is rock not dead?
I'll tell you, Steve.
can I just add a disclaimer first? He only listens to free jazz from the early 60s. So go ahead.
Well, as long as there's a kid with a guitar in a garage somewhere, rock and roll's not dead. It's a spirit. It's an attitude. Sure, most of the new rock bands, so-called rock bands that come out today are just filled with synthesizers. It's closer to 80s yacht rock than anything else that I've heard. It's certainly no punk rock from 1977, no Ramones, no Stooges from 1969, but there's always hope. It's like you can't, sure, it's not commercially viable anymore as an art form. Maybe it's not a mainstream phenomena that it used to be, but that doesn't mean it's dead, There's always hope, especially today where like a kid can record an album in his bedroom so easily. I mean, there's the technology to get it out to an audience that like never before, so it's never gonna die completely. Just like blues will never die or jazz will never die. Just because it's not commercially viable does not mean it's dead.
Yeah, and I don't mean it like that. I just mean that I definitely don't mean, if you really look at like the Billboard charts, there was only a couple years there where like harder rock really even penetrated at all. It's like 1970, 71 was like when Zeppelin was on the top 100. Deep Purple was kind of on the top 100. Sabbath got a couple tunes on there. So I don't mean from that, but like even the good bands now, because there are a lot of good bands like Graveyard, for instance. They're a pretty contemporary rock band, hard rock band, but I like them because they sound like the old 70s
Yeah,
stuff.
me too.
Not because
Tame
they're
Impala
like,
reminds
right.
me of like 60s music.
Exactly. So they're not like, they're just being very good scholastics in the history of rock and roll. They're not actually.
I guess maybe that's the question. Is there another phase in rock and roll that's going to happen?
Yes, and it's just going to be like shittier. It's just going to get worse and worse. Like look at country music.
Yeah.
Country
doesn't exist anymore.
Well, country's the opposite though. It's got such like a stranglehold over the marketplace
But it's not really country. It became.
No, I'm not saying it is, but it identifies itself as country.
Right.
So therefore, it is country.
I guess, insofar as Limp Bizkit was rock.
Right. So that'll be the state of affairs. Like the next good thing will be worse than the worst thing was 40 years ago.
Right. That's something to look forward to.
Right.
Well, you don't have to look forward to it. You can just,
you just listen to the old stuff.
Exactly.
Like I find new
and go to Van Halen concerts.
Yeah, I find new old bands every day where I'm like, man, this shit's cool. Who's this? And it's like
That's the thing, though, Jack. Me and you both like to find these progressive rock bands from the 70s. We're gonna run out eventually. There is a finite amount that existed in that time
I think Patrick
period.
can attest that if you dig deep enough into singles and stuff, you can find an endless amount of music from the past, from any country.
Just like internationally, it's a gold mine. Just going from country to country,
like tens of thousands of bands.
Thanks everyone for checking out this Primo Nutmeg flashback. If you want to listen to more from the first episode of Primo Nutmeg, as well as many other gems from the first season, all you have to do is stop by our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/Primo Nutmeg, and become a patron for just $1 a month. There you will get hours of forgotten treasures as well as access to other exclusive content. Also, next time you have to buy something on Amazon, make sure that you stop by PRIMONUTMEG.com, click on the link at the top of the page, and that way hopefully we can get a few bucks to pay for microphones, cameras, bandwidth, and other necessities needed to keep the show going. Also, remember to subscribe to the show to stay up to date on all of our latest material.